Welcome to Making a Murderer, Rubberducky YouTube channel. Welcome back, you guys. Thanks for joining me. We're going to go over part 12 today of the daily MaM Read CASO Investigative Reports, pages 111 through 120. Page 111. Type of activity: contact with Shirley R. Vanderloop. Date of activity: 11/06/05. Reporting officer, investigator John Deering. Documents generated: none. On Sunday, 11/06/05 at 09:42 hours, I, Deering, assisted by Manitowoc County Deputy Jacobs, did make contact with the following individual: Shirley R. Vanderloop. Miss Vanderloop's residence is located immediately north of the Zipper residence and would afford a good view of any vehicles pulling into the driveway of the Zipper residence. Mrs. Vanderloop advised me that she was at home during the afternoon hours of 10/31/05, however had not noticed any vehicles whatsoever. Investigation continues. John Deering, investigator, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 112. Type of activity: interview with Jody M. Stachowski. Date of activity: 11/06/05. Reporting officer, investigator John Deering. Documents generated: 1 page waived Miranda warning. On Sunday, 11/06/05 at 10:08 hours, I, Deering, assisted by Detective Dennis Jacobs of the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department, did interview the following individuals at the Manitowoc County Jail: Jody M. Stachowski. Prior to asking any questions of Miss Stachowski, Detective Jacobs did read her warning and waiver of rights, commonly referred to as Miranda, which she did waive her rights to counsel and against self-incrimination, and agreed to speak with us. Stachowski indicated she had lived at the above address for approximately 18 months. She stated that prior to moving to Avery Road, she lived on Waldo Boulevard in Manitowoc. She stated that she moved to the Manitowoc area approximately 12 years ago. She stated she was born in Menominee Falls. I asked Stachowski of her whereabouts on 10/31/05, and she indicated that she had been in custody at the jail and had been so since 08/15/05 approximately. She states that she speaks to Steven Avery every night on the telephone. She indicates every Tuesday she is released for an AODA and that Steven Avery provides a ride to and from her AODA meetings. She also states Steven does come to visit her at the facility during visiting hours. Stachowski states that they just normally have general conversation on most evenings. She states that Steven did not come to visit on Sunday, 11/05/05, and did not plan to, indicating he was going up north with his family. I asked Miss Stachowski if she and Steven had spoken about the missing girl. Stachowski indicated that subject had arisen on Thursday, 11/03/05. She stated that Steven advised her that TV people had talked to him on Thursday, I believe. She stated that on Friday at 1800 hours, Steven mentioned that he was on the news and mentioned that, page 113, the police had been out to speak with him. Steven advised Jody during the conversation that she had with him on Friday p.m. that Bobby Dassey saw her, Teresa, after Steven did. According to Miss Stachowski, TV5 had advised Steven Avery that the photographer Teresa Halbach apparently had an appointment after Steven's. Stachowski indicated that Steven Avery believes the police are setting him up. Stachowski indicated that she somehow agreed with this. She states there are a lot of ways into that yard, at least 4 that she is aware of. She believed it would be easy for someone to plant the RAV4 listed to Mrs. Halbach. During a briefing, I had been advised that there were handcuffs and leg restraints located within Steven's residence. When I broached this subject with Miss Stachowski, her response was, "In our house, they must be new." she had a similar response regarding the leg restraints. Stachowski indicated she was last at the Avery Road address in mid-August. She indicated that the duct tape in the bedroom might have come from her painting and masking the bedroom off. She stated that she had painted virtually the entire trailer since moving in. She did indicate that she and Steven had discussed a possibility of using restraints during sex in the past. Stachowski indicated the computer that is in Steven's residence is connected to the internet, and there probably are pornographic images of Jody and Steven contained on it. She states that these images are generated with a Kodak brand digital camera, which is kept close by the computer unless Steven goes up north and takes a camera with him. Stachowski was asked how Steven learned that Bobby was the last person to see Ms. Halbach. She could offer no explanation for this. Stachowski indicated she was certain that Teresa Halbach had been at the Steven Avery residence in the past, recalling that Teresa Halbach photographed a boat, a motor, and a trailer which Steven Avery had for sale. Stachowski indicated that, to her knowledge, Teresa Halbach had never provided her a business card or cellular phone numbers to Steven Avery. I had learned that a key for a foreign vehicle had been found in Steven Avery's residence, and I asked Jody if Steven owned any import vehicles. She stated that she was not aware of any. She states Steven drives a van to and from the yard, and drives a Grand Am and a tow-type vehicle in addition to a black Ford F-350 that he owns. Jody indicated she was aware that Steven had brought back a camouflage painted unit, possibly an Isuzu, the previous weekend. Page 114. Jody went on to indicate that the yard is family operated and that there are no outside employees. She states that the family members who participate in the operation area are Chucky, who lives near his mother, Dolores, Alan, the dad, who is on the property Tuesday through Thursday, and Earl. She stated Earl and Chucky are Steven's brothers. She indicates that people who live on the property where Avery's Auto Salvage is located include Chucky Avery, Dolores Avery, Alan Avery Tuesday through Thursday, Barb Yonda, Brian Yonda, Bobby Yonda, Blaine Yonda, Brendan Yonda, Steve Avery, and Jody Stachowski. Jody indicated that she has never been married and has a 12-year-old daughter named Blank. She states that Blank currently is in placement with Jody's mother, whose name is Sandra Bartz. Jody continued to indicate that it was her belief that Steven is being set up by the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department, possibly other law enforcement agencies. John Dietering, investigator, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 115. Type of activity: contact with Deputy Inspector Greg Shetter. Date of activity: 11/06/05. Reporting officer: Investigator John Dietering. Documents generated: none. On Sunday, 11/06/05, I, Dietering, after I returned to the Avery's Auto Salvage Yard area from my interview with Stachowski, was advised by Deputy Inspector Greg Shetter that he had developed information that a vehicle had been parked for several days in the area of Kruger Road and Twin River Road, an area approximately 2 miles north of Avery's Auto Salvage. Shetter indicated that he believed this might be something worth of pursuit. Investigation continues. John Dietering, investigator, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 116. Type of activity: supplemental report. Date of activity: 11/06/05. Reporting officer: Deputy Jeremy Hawkins. On 11/06/05 at approximately 11:11 a.m., I, Deputy Jeremy Hawkins of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, arrived as the evidence custodian to prepare to log items found at the Avery property and the Halbach residence and evidence. Once I arrived at the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, I was informed by dispatch that a trailer with 4 barrels would be arriving from Manitowoc County. I was advised radio operator Marie Austerhouse would be giving me 2 keys for the lock of the trailer. When the trailer arrived, I had the Manitowoc County deputy park the trailer behind the Calumet County Sheriff's Department. The keys to the trailer lock were signed for and released to me. The trailer had 2 doors secured by evidence tape by the locking portion of the handle and 1 door secured by a lock. I remained watching the trailer until arrangements could be made to place the trailer into the back garage unit. The trailer was placed in the rear garage unit, and the garage unit was locked. 2 locks were obtained and placed on the other 2 doors of the trailer. At the time 2 locks were placed on the doors, all the evidence tape around the locking portions of the door were still intact and not tampered with. After 3 locks were applied, the 2 outer doors of the back garage were sealed with evidence tape. A camera to the Sheriff's Department was also moved to the back garage, so the back garage could be taped 24 hours a day. Deputy Jeremy Hawkins, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 117. Type of activity, supplemental report. Date of activity, 11/06/05. Reporting officer, Deputy Telecommunicator Marie Osterhaus. On Sunday at 11/06/05 at approximately 11:30 hours, I, Deputy Telecommunicator Marie Osterhaus of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, along with Deputy Gary Takes from Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department, did start en route to the Calumet County Sheriff's Department with an enclosed trailer full of evidence. Officer Takes and I had stood by with enclosed trailer after custody had been transferred to us by Deputy Daniel Kurcharski of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department. The trailer contained 4 barrels of burnt unknown substance and a door from a vehicle. I also had in my possession 2 keys belonging to a master lock, which was secured to the front passenger side door of the trailer. The trailer was secured with evidence tape by Officer Takes and me before leaving the Avery property. Upon arrival at the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, I met with Deputy Jeremy Hawkins of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department. We arrived at the Calumet County Sheriff's Department at approximately 12:24 hours. At approximately 12:45 hours, I did sign the secured trailer and its contents over to Deputy Hawkins. It should be noted that at approximately 11:38 hours, while we were en route with the trailer, we did stop on the southbound off-ramp of I-43 off of State Highway 147 to check on the trailer because it was pulling very rough. At approximately 11:39 hours, we were again en route to the Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Marie A. Osterhaus, badge number 604, Deputy Telecommunicator, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 118. Type of activity, contact with Harold John Stahl. Date of activity, 11/06/05. Reporting officer, Investigator John Dietering. Documents generated, none. On Sunday, 11/06/05 at 12:33 hours, I, Dietering, accompanied by Detective Jacobs, Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department, did make contact with the following individual: Harold John Stahl. Mr. Stahl is confined to a wheelchair and does not have easy access to windows or to outdoors. He advised that his wife had seen the vehicle we were speaking of as either Deputy Inspector Shetter or someone from this agency had placed a cone in the area where the vehicle had been. Stahl indicated that his wife would return from shopping in town in approximately 3 hours. We ended our contact with Mr. Stahl at 12:37 hours. Investigation continues. John Dietering, Investigator, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 119. Type of activity, supplemental report. Date of activity, 11/06/05. Reporting officer, Sergeant Bill Tyson. On Sunday, 11/06/05, I, Sergeant Bill Tyson of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, did make contact with Investigator Mark Wiegert at the command post. Investigator Wiegert informed me I would be working with officers from the City of Manitowoc Police Department, and we would be searching an abandoned trailer located east of Barb Yonda's residence. I was introduced to Jeff Tech, Brian Swetlick, and Rob Block. Jeff Tech informed me he was a detective for the Manitowoc Police Department. Jeff also told me Brian Swetlick was a detective sergeant at the Manitowoc Police Department. Jeff Tech told me Rob Block was an evidence technician and a patrolman for the Manitowoc Police Department. At 13:10 hours, Brian Swetlick, and I entered the abandoned trailer through an unblocked back door. We did go to the front door and did unlock the front door, so Jeff Tech and Rob Block could also enter the residence. Upon searching the abandoned trailer, I was informed by Detective Swetlick and Detective Tech there was nothing of evidentiary value inside the abandoned trailer. I could clearly see as well that the trailer was being used to house personal items and auto parts. We cleared from the abandoned trailer at 13:44 hours. Our duties also consisted in searching the outbuildings located in the fenced-in area to the west of Alan and Dolores Avery's residence. Detective Tech and Detective Swetlick, Officer Block, and I entered the red-colored metal shed at 14:15 hours. While searching the red shed, we discovered there were 3 separate bays in the garage. Officer Block and Detective Tech were searching the farthest south bay, and Detective Swetlick and I continued and checked the middle bay and the north bay of the garage. Upon walking into the second and third bay, we were able to see that the garage was used to house vehicle parts and tools. There were also 3 automobiles parked in those bays. I did search of the interior of those automobiles and found nothing out of the ordinary. Detective Swetlick and I continued to search the outbuildings in the fenced-off area and entered the metallic shed that runs east and west, directly to the west of the red shed. We entered the shed at 14:27 hours. Upon searching that shed, we determined that building was used to the house automobile parts and 50-gallon drum containers. We exited that shed at 14:33 hours. Detective Swetlick and I then entered the blue shed, which was west of the metallic shed. The blue shed runs north and south. We entered the blue shed at 14:36 hours. We located 7 Page 20. Automobiles in the blue shed and found nothing out of the ordinary in the vehicles or in the shed. We exited the blue shed at 14:40 hours. There was a red pickup truck sitting in the fenced-in area directly outside the blue shed door. Detective Swetlick and I looked in the vehicle and in the back of the vehicle found some woman's clothing. I did sort through the clothing, and with the clothing was a cardboard box titled Amy's Bedroom. Upon looking at the pants in the back of this truck, it was determined the pant sizes were a size 15-16. I placed a telephone call to a female that would weigh approximately the same weight as Teresa Halbach, and that female told me she wears a pant size of 7-8. The clothing in the back of the red pickup truck was not seized. I re-entered the red shed at 14:45 hours and made contact with Officer Block and Detective Tech. Officer Block informed me he had located 3 different stains on the concrete floor that he felt could possibly be blood stains. Officer Block had labeled the 3 areas with number placards. Officer Block was taking photos of the stains. Officer Block used a sterile cotton swab, and he added a few drops of distilled water to that swab and placed the swab into the first stain on the floor, which was located next to an automobile that was parked in the South Bay. At 15:07 hours, Officer Block swabbed the first stain. The swab was placed in a paper container, sealed, and turned over to me. The stain was directly next to a vehicle that had no registration plates but did have a VIN of IJ4G7 58S5 SC510833. Officer Block then approached stain number 2, which was directly behind the rear bumper of the automobile. Officer Block used a sterile cotton swab and added a couple drops of distilled water to the swab and placed the swab directly into the middle of the stain. Officer Block swabbed the stain at 15:10 hours. That cotton swab was placed in a paper container, sealed, and turned over to me. Officer Block then proceeded to the area where stain number 3 was located. Officer Block used a sterile cotton swab and added a few drops of distilled water to the swab and placed that swab directly into the stain on the concrete floor. Officer Block swabbed that stain at 15:15 hours. That swab was placed in a paper container, was sealed, and turned over to me. Officer Block and Detective Tech then measured the location of the stains on the garage floor. Stain number 1 was located 73.5 inches from the rear bumper to the north. The stain was 13.5 inches to the east from the passenger side of the automobile. Stain number 2 was 15.5 inches directly south of the rear bumper on the automobile. Okay, let's see here. We'll start with page 112. This is an interview of Jody Stachowski, and it's 11/6/05, and investigator John Dietering. So what I wanted to point out is this. I just kind of found this puzzling. So she states that her whereabouts on 10/31/05 was basically in the custody of the jail, that she speaks to Avery every night on the telephone, and that every Tuesday she is released to the AODA meeting, and that Steven Avery provides a ride to her. What I find interesting is I had always mistakenly thought that on the 31st Jody had that AODA meeting, and yet no, she doesn't have it till Tuesday. So that means she actually wouldn't have had her meeting till the 1st. And when she's not allowed to go to it, she's held back. We still don't know who held her back from going to that meeting or what their purpose was, but apparently it was something that was going to take place on the 1st. So that's very interesting. And then let's go ahead and scroll down to page 13. And she goes on to say, Jody's girlfriend or fiance goes on to say that Bobby Dassey did see her first, according to the conversation she had with Steven on Friday, and that TV5 had advised Steven Avery that there was apparently an appointment after Steven. So that's interesting. Now, I wrote the number 4 here, indicating that, according to Jody, she believes it would be easy for someone to plant the RAV4 that is listed to Miss Halbach, and she states there's lots of ways in the yard, at least 4. So let's take a look at that map for a minute. So we've got several ways in, and as Jody said, Steve's girlfriend, there would be this way, which would be 1, and then this route would be 2, 3, and then 4. But if you're really going to look at the way Zellner explains it, it would have come from this way, the 3rd way, and it would have been parked right there. So that gives you an idea of where the RAV is. And so let's jump to 114. And for who would have been on the property out of those residents, they leave off some people here, Jody does. So you've got Chuck Avery, lives on the property, Chuck Avery. Dolores, I wouldn't be concerned of her. Alan wouldn't have been there because he's only there Tuesday through Thursday, and this is a Monday. But we would have had Barb, and this would have been Brian Dassey, Bobby Dassey, Blaine Dassey, Brendan Dassey, Steven Avery, and Jody would not have been there because she was in jail. So those are some of the individuals. But what about Scott Tadich? He's not necessarily living there, but he's definitely doing his laundry there during the day. Jody goes on to continue to state that she believes Steven is being set up, and she names the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department and possibly other law enforcement agencies. So we're on page 116, and I just wanted to make note here, we're still tracking barrels, and now Jeremy Hawkins has them, and he arrives at Calumet County Sheriff's Department, and he's waiting for the 4 barrels to arrive from Manitowoc County. He's going to be given a set of keys, a pair of keys from Marie Osterhaus. And then let's go on down here. What's going to happen is they're really going to lock these barrels up. They're even moving a camera from the Sheriff's Department to the back garage so that it can be taped 24 hours a day. Okay, so we're on page 117, and we're seeing here where Marie Osterhaus is going to be signing over custody of the 4 barrels to Daniel Karcharski of Calumet County. And she's handing over 2 master locks and securing them from the passenger door of the trailer. And then they are applying evidence tape. So they're really, really making sure these barrels are secure, and they haven't found anything in the barrels yet. So isn't it interesting that that's a main concern of theirs, is the burned barrels? Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and go to page 119. And I just want to make note here, there's an abandoned trailer located east of Barb Yonda's residence. And it talks about this being used or housed for personal items and auto parts. So that's interesting that they have the abandoned building there, or abandoned trailer. And then they do find a shed with the outbuildings, a metal shed that runs east and west directly to the west of the red shed. Upon entering it, they determined that this is also used for automobile parts and 50-gallon drum containers. So if we're counting barrels, are these 50-gallon drum metal containers like barrels? And then let's go to page 20, our last page before we wrap up here. And they're talking about re-entering the red shed. And it's Officer Block, Detective Tech. And they are going through this red shed, and they locate 3 different stains on the concrete that they felt could be blood stains. And Officer Block has labeled the 3 areas with numbered placards. And the first one he swabs is located next to the automobile that was parked on the south bay. And then the second stain was directly behind the rear bumper of the automobile. And the third stain, let's see where it's located. It states that it's measuring, I think it's on, we're cheating a little, we're scrolling ahead. It is 150 inches south from the rear bumper of the parked automobile. So I'm really interested into this red shed. We've got what appears to be blood, and it is on the concrete, and they're swabbing samples. And do they test this? And if so, what do the tests reveal? And that's it for our wrap up today. All right, you guys, that completes and concludes part 12 of our CASO Investigative Reports. I hope you'll join me tomorrow for part 13. And with that, we have started to share some of this beautiful artwork that's bringing public awareness. This particular one and the following one that's coming up are both by James Bond 007 off of Twitter. And what a remarkable job he does. Very creative and inspiring, to say the least. So, you guys, I want to just say thank you to everybody supporting Brendan and Stephen Dassey. We know in the long run that those that are corrupt are going to get found out. These guys have not committed a crime, and their lives have been stolen. And we need to continue every day to work hard to get them back home. So with that, you guys, it's time. If you didn't do the crime, you shouldn't do the time. Thank you so much for watching, and hope you'll join me tomorrow. Have a great night.